Boop, 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 boop. Alright guys, this is a very long project that I've been working on for maybe last 4 months. So here it is. This will be my new computer. I made a bunch of these videos already, but none of them were good enough. So this is the CAD drawing, but the real life version has actually changed quite a bit. Not too much, but a bit. So there used to be acrylic over these fans, but I got rid of that because too hard to draw or drill so many circles. I ended up just switching it up with some fan grills. So these are 80 millimeter by 1 centimeter, and here's the power supply. So this is the server power supply. It's an SP502 that I have made my own backplane for. You'll see that in the the real life video that I'm about to record. This is without the side case, so it actually has a bay right here for putting 2 3.5 inch desktop drives. Right here is where the graphics card would go. ITX motherboard over here, and the power supply. The power supply section changed, so I didn't use the original casing of the power supply. I took all of that off, and I added mounting points on the actual case itself, so that I could just bolt the board to it, and it looks a lot cleaner, and you can see the insides of the power supply, which is cool. So for a cooler, I went with a low profile. I believe it's a Noctua something. It's the really low profile one. 85 watts is what it's supported for TDP. But yeah, I'm using a GTX 970, even though this model says 770, but I just picked a big graphics card that would fit, so I knew what was the maximum size that I could fit. This is not the motherboard that I'm actually using. I'm using an Asus H170 chipset. That's ITX form factor. These mounting positions were actually changed so that it's a bit more deeper. Yeah, it's deeper into the case. So all the cables are hidden inside of the case itself. So that way you got none of this sticking out crap. It could just be like plug it in internally, and then the wires could just either loop all the way down or just like come out of the box. I was going to 3D print some supports, but I ended up changing it mechanically using male-to-male screwy bits. So I used a 2-inch screw and a 1-inch screw, so totaled up it's 3 inches. And that is how thick the actual computer is. See? Now, if my computer wouldn't be so laggy. So I actually did make a motherboard tray for this, and really the point of the motherboard tray was not so that like I could build it all on the motherboard tray and then set it in the case. Well, that was the initial point, but because of the way that I designed the power supply section to be, I mean, it can still work that way, but then the graphics card mounts are bolted onto the same points as these screws, and it just didn't end up happening. And by the time I got the graphics card, I already welded up the case and painted it, so it was too late to re-weld some new joints and stuff. So yeah, I mean, they were afterthoughts, but you'll see what I mean. And I did some slight modifications, but yeah, so I used for the outer case is 1-inch angle that's been cut to 45 degrees. I actually didn't do this cut right here. I didn't do this because the way that because I did a recessed motherboard, I didn't need to do this long cut, which was what I was trying to avoid. Same with this, I didn't do this recessed cut. As for the center crossbar, it's a T made of 2 half-inch angle pieces, so that it would, 1, be stronger, and 2, they don't make 1-inch by half-inch T, so I had to make that myself. These triangles are not in the final build, but these triangles are, and if my mouse wouldn't stop complaining that I'm a terrible CAD artist. There we go. These are, in the final build, these are not squares, these are actually triangles because they're offcuts of doing the 45-degree angles on the 1-inch aluminum angle. The motherboard tray is made of 3/4 inch flat bar. The other bits of the tray are made of 1/2 inch by 3/4 inch, I believe. Yeah, 1/2 inch by 3/4 angle. And yeah, the other bits of the, well, this one leg is some offcut of the mid angle, or the mid 1/2 inch angle aluminum. And then these are all aluminum standoffs that I was able to buy, and luckily I found matching screws. All the screws I used are Allen keys, which, you know, it just makes it look more classy and less shitty and prone to breaking off because you have to remove them since you're a hacker and want to build shit. But yeah, all the screws are Allen keys. The power supply section actually has its own tray also. Well, it's a half tray, because half of it is welded onto the case, and the other half bolts on. I did the weldy part was, one, because I didn't have enough aluminum left, and the second reason was because I needed something to actually have a high enough force to keep the plexi on this side from falling out. But yeah. So, as for actual features of the case, there are, as you can see, no buttons and no lights on the outside. I did have to take this part off, so this is actually not in the case anymore. It's just the one front panel. I didn't put a top, a back, or a bottom, so this bottom piece is actually gone too. One, for ventilation reasons, other than the bottom won't actually get any ventilation, but it's not there, so it doesn't really need to be there. Plus, it gives it kind of an industrial look. So yeah, it stands up like this, so this whole bottom area will be blocked off anyway, but if I wanted to run it flat, then it would also help for ventilation. Of course, the back is completely open. As you can see, there are no holes for the graphics card or the CPU. Initially, I planned on cutting some holes here, but one, it didn't look very good, and two, they run cool enough. So I'm not using an i7, I'm using an i5, not the K version, so it's a 6500 i5. So it's an 85 watt processor. There was enough of a gap between this plexi and the actual fan to not be any issue even when running at full speed, so no throttling. Same thing with the graphics card. There is enough breathing room in there to blow it all out the back, and I'm using a GTX 970 with the EVGA ACX 2.0 cooler, which doesn't turn on until it reaches 60 degrees Celsius, approximately. And then also, so like I said, I'm jumping around, but like I said, there's no front panel buttons or LEDs. That's because the LEDs are, I'm going to be using a WS2812 RGB LED strip. So the 2812s are individually addressable through a one-wire communication that I'm going to be doing with an Arduino. All four of these fans, well, two of them are parallel to each other, so these two are parallel and these two are parallel. So they're connected onto the same rail. Those are run through a digital analog converter that I built using an RC circuit and a voltage following operational amplifier to drive some NPN transistors to run these fans. And those fans or the PWM value is given by some DS2812, I believe. No, not 2012. Those are the LEDs. LM35s. So those are temperature sensors, analog temperature sensors. I'm having a bit of some issues with them. They're not quite working. They were, and then I made the adapter board, or I soldered the adapter board together, and some of the extension leads, and then it's having some issues. I might have fucked up the power going to them. But that's easily fixable. Luckily, about 10 of them. Yeah. So that's really it. Off to the camera.